Hi guys, welcome back. And I've been a bit hit and miss lately with videos. I'm going to try and get back to weekly. So today is the start of a 3 or 4 video section on dealing with school, how I got through school with my anxiety. Obviously, these tips aren't just for anxiety. They can, personally, I think they are quite important tips to know anyway, no matter who you are or anything. So I'm going to start off with something very easy, very basic, that tends to be the main issue with a lot of people when it comes to school stuff. So traditionally, you have to pick your modules or your subjects when you're roughly year 9 over here in the UK. Sometimes, depending on whether you're the new guinea pigs for something new, you choose a few in year 8, few in year 9, few in year 10. So you're roughly the age of 13, 14. Now, personally I think that's too young to make a decision. But when it comes to school, this tends to be your first major one. Because when it comes to choosing your secondary school, your comprehensive, whatever, your parents tend to make that decision for you, and it tends to be based off the area that you live in, whether or not your parents have been to that school, stuff like that. So, 13, 14 tends to be the first big decision you have to make as a student. You have to choose your subjects. Now, obviously, you have your compulsory subjects of maths, English and science, but then you have options to do an extra maths, extra English or triple science. It's changed a few times over the years, but when I took mine, you had to choose between geography or history. Now, you made that decision when you were in year 8, which for me, I would have been, I believe, 12, because I'm one of the younger ones in the year. And then you make all your other decisions after. Don't know how other schools do it based off area and school councils and stuff like that. We had been given a sheet of paper that had your compulsory subjects at the top and then 4 option boxes. The first one was your history or geography. So after your first year, you could swap if you wanted, but they advised you not to, because that meant you'd have to do after school classes and extra stuff to catch up on the year that you missed. Then you had your first section, which had your stuff like your triple science, your extra maths, extra English. I believe RE and P were in that one. And then your bottom 2 boxes were pretty much identical. So they'd have a repeat of the first box's options. So you could do extra English and extra maths if you wanted. In one of the boxes, they didn't have it in the other one. Just so that you had more options. And the rest of the options were the same for the final 2 boxes. It was stuff like Spanish or French, which I think our French got cancelled because most people preferred Spanish because that was the language we started with. Then there was stuff like art textiles, which I did, or just art, cooking, PE, stuff like that. Then you had the option to do RE as one of your main core choices, so they would have been in the bottom boxes. Or you had option to do a midnight RE class, which it wasn't really midnight, but that's what majority of people called it. It was after school. I believe it was on a Wednesday, and you just stayed an hour later and had an extra class then. I got rid of RE as soon as I could. It wasn't something I enjoyed, although I was quite good at it, and I feel like that's because in my family I have a range of different religious opinions, and depending on which side of the family there was different religions, so I was quite good at it because I'd been brought up around them all, but it just wasn't something I was interested in, so I didn't bother. For me, I chose triple science because I wanted to do marine biology. That's what I'm studying now, so I needed the triple science behind me. I chose geography out of geography and history because it was something I would have to then take at A level to be able to get into marine biology at university level. I chose Spanish because it was, at the time, something that was asked of by universities to have a GCSE language, which pretty sure the rule changed halfway through at my year. It is something good to have. I do try to keep up with the study so I don't forget it. It's not really come in handy. I mean, when I first started studying it, I went on holiday and it helped a little, but... and then, because I had a spare subject, I decided to choose art textiles as a fun one for me, something I enjoyed. So when it comes to you choosing your modules, your subjects, if you do get a 4-option basis like we did, choose 3 that's going to help you in the future and 1 for fun. Always try and get a fun option. It just helps make it so much easier. For us, we were quite lucky in all our fun, like we had a double period of art textiles on a Friday, and then I believe we had one around Wednesday. So it's like, it helped. I also did quite a lot after school with it because I was determined to get my projects finished within a week. So obviously you're 13, 14 years old, you're not quite sure what you want to do in the future. Try and choose subjects that, you know, you're good at, you enjoy, and that are quite good for anything. So if in doubt, always choose either triple science or extra science, whatever it's called, extra maths or extra English. Always choose one of the 3. And you're thinking, well, I already have it as a core. Yes, but it gives you more of an advanced learning of one of those 3. Choose one you're better at or the one you enjoy the most. For me, both of those were science. The only science I really struggled with was physics, and that was mainly in class. I was actually quite good at the exams. Chemistry, I was good in class, not so in the exams, and then biology was by far my best. But always choose one of the 3 core subjects to do an advance in. This is so then whatever you go into, whether you have an apprenticeship or you do go to college, you are more likely to get into certain desired subjects because of these, especially if they are desired subjects based off whichever one you did extra in. Don't bother doing extra maths if you're not good at it and you don't like it. I think I would have cried if I did. However, sometimes you are advised to do extras in one of these subjects if you aren't very good. And this is a different type of extra, usually over like a foundation and a higher or lower and a higher. Papers and exams. So usually schools do the same when it comes to choosing the subjects, but always try and do more of one of the cores. Obviously, if you do have to choose a humanity, either geography or history, I believe RE has now been moved into the choice. Don't hold that to me, it changes all the time. As much as a humanity is not required, it is a good knowledge. Personally, I chose geography. I didn't really like history classes. I found them really dull and boring. Plus, a lot of history stuff you can learn off programmes and movies in your own reading in a way that you enjoy. Where geography is a little bit harder to do that sort of stuff. It is something you need more of. And then obviously, RE is personal choice based off whether or not you are religious or not, or you want to know more about the religion. If you're wanting to go into stuff such as like psychology or sociology and your secondary school doesn't have those options, a lot of people that I'm friends with that study them now have said that RE would have been a good choice for them. It is something that could have helped them because it shows different opinions and beliefs based off different things, not just the whole religious area. So if you are wanting to go into something like that, like psychology, sociology, RE might be a good one for you to choose. But yeah, so I chose geography. And although I don't particularly like history, it is good to know some of these historical facts. not necessarily for marine biology, but just life in general. And as stupid as this sounds, Horrible Histories is a really good program that shows this. It's not 100% accurate. Nothing ever will be in history because different people have different views on what had happened, and the whole Chinese whisper thing, it never comes out the same when it's been passed down. But it is something that is really fun to watch, and it is relatively accurate. Other documentaries and films do the same. But personally, always choose one of the humanities. Now, although language is not necessarily required now, it could be in a few months, it is something good to learn. But if you don't want to take a language, or you don't have space to take a language, there are online courses or apps that do it. I know Duolingo, I don't know if it is here in the UK yet. I know the app is, but Duolingo has started giving out like certificates and awards for like certain levels, but I don't think that has been introduced to the UK version yet. So that is always there for you as an option. Schools might not accept it. Universities will more than likely accept them if you have these certificates. But I would always try and have a diverse range, and then always make sure you have a fun subject. Now, one thing, being 13, 14 years old, choosing these, you want to choose the same things as either your parents did, or your parents pressure you into doing, or what your friends want, or what your friends are doing. And that's fine if you want to do that, but you're not going to be happy with these. For me, I didn't discuss any of my options with my friends. I spoke to my mum about it. I'd set point from a young age that I wanted to work with animals. As I got older, it changed from being like a vet to working in the RSPCA. But it was always animal based. So science was always an option for me. Science was definitely it. No matter what, I was going into science. As I got into year 9, so around the time doing the options, I was looking more into marine related sciences, working in like aquariums or like water parks where they train dolphins. It was something that I always wanted to do. Just work with them, find safer ways to train captive animals while letting them, have the right space and, looking after them and stuff like that. So obviously when you're in your secondary school, you don't have the option for marine sciences, so it was always science. For me, my mum was very understanding, and she actually helped me figure out which blocks to put them in, to take, so I could get all the options that I wanted. And then we also got to choose secondary options in case we couldn't get our first in each of these, which my mum was really good at helping me choose, so that no matter what, all the options I wanted were picked. And luckily I got all the options that I wanted, which was great. And then I told my friends after handing in the form. Now, I think we'd been given a week to choose our options before we had to hand them in. Some of them we had to choose there and then, like for humanities, you had to choose in an assembly, geography or history. You had to write it on a tick of paper with, I think it was your student ID and your name, and then the option that you wanted. So I didn't tell any of my friends till after I handed it in. I think I might have had a conversation with one of my closest friends, saying what I was thinking of doing, because they were really struggling and deciding. And then they ended up choosing completely different options for me because they decided to follow what they wanted. And it worked out good. I mean, I enjoyed the subjects that I did. Didn't particularly like some of the teachers, didn't particularly get on with a lot of the students in the class. It got worse towards the end of year 11 in the exams. And then overall in the exams, I did better than what I was told I was going to get. I did really well in some of them. I mean, I think the lowest grade I got was in English. We was the first year to do numbers, and I got a 4 in one and a 5 in the other. And they were the lowest grades I got, which I believe is still the equivalent of a C. So, that was the lowest I'd gotten. But yeah, so choose subjects, modules, whatever for you. So like university level, you get to choose your modules rather than your subjects, which is it's basically the same thing. So I'm going into my first year in September because I've just finished my foundation year. You have core ones, and then you have the choice between, I think it's science communication and scuba diving. Now, I've already got my scuba diving. I did that last year and the year before. More to give me an edge and something extra to get me into university in the first place. But then it also opens up other modules for me. So I chose science communication by process of elimination. Not sure what it entails, but it will probably help me with my science writing, because that was something I always struggled with. I'd know the knowledge of it, but I wouldn't know how to write it. But it comes the same with schools. Don't tell people why you're applying for schools until after you've handed in the applications. Now, for colleges, there was only really one option for the area that I lived in, and I knew a few of the people that had applied there. And so I knew I wasn't going to be alone, but then I ended up falling out with those people anyway, but I'd made new friends at this point. But do not, under any circumstances, be scared that you're not going to be with a friend in either a class next year or in the next school, because if they don't stay in contact with you, or you don't stay in contact with them, and they don't support what you do and you don't support them, then they're not really your friend. So choose what's going to make you happy. For your universities, you have to choose 5 options if you apply through UCAS. Don't tell other people where you're going until after you've handed in the application. Luckily for me, my 2 top choices, I had a friend in either of them. I'm still really close with them both now. I still talk to them both all the time. But you know, I'm not in any of the same subjects as my friend that's at the same university as me. I don't actually know anyone from any of my previous schools that are in the same classes as me. But I've made friends, fell out with friends that I've made, don't speak to some people anymore, and that's just life. But if you truly are passionate about something, choose it, because it'll make you happy. And so what if you lose a few friends along the way? So what if you don't make friends? You're going to get your chosen career, your dream, your goal out of it. And it can be scary, especially having anxiety. I was so glad when I found out no matter which of my top 2 unis I had a friend in. I don't know what I'd have done if not. I'd have been a lot more freaked. I mean, I moved in with 7 random strangers in student accommodation, and for the first 2 or 3 nights, I had panic attacks every night till I had met all the girls and kind of got to know them a little bit. And it's gonna happen. You know, no matter where you go, you're gonna get anxious about it. But if you're choosing what makes you happy and something you're good at, something you're passionate about, you're anxious till you get into those classes or into that lecture theatre, and then you're fine. You feel at home in a sense because it's something you love, it's something you enjoy. And then you just get on with it. And you come out, yeah, sometimes you'll get good grades. I didn't particularly get good grades at A-level because of issues I was having with the students. But I got enough to pass. I enjoyed the subjects. I learned. You know, it's one of those, you do what you want and then tell your friends after. And they're either going to be supportive and happy for you, and they're friends you need to keep in your life, or they're not, and they're friends that are toxic and you need to get rid of them. And I know it's easier said than done. It always has been. I found what was best for me is when I had these options, I chose them there and then that night and handed them in as early as I could, so then nobody was changing my mind. I know for the options that we had to take in year 9, you couldn't hand them in any earlier, so I filled them out and gave them to my mum till the earliest day of handing in, just so then I wasn't tempted to change based off what my friends were choosing. maybe you don't have someone that can stop you doing that. So maybe you do talk to a teacher you can trust about giving it to them for safekeeping. Maybe, I don't know, you lock it away in a cupboard. Just don't forget about it. Personally, I had more anxiety and trouble in the subjects and the college classes that I had with people that I once considered my friends or once knew, because and this isn't everyone, a lot of the times they try to pull you away from your study by having normal chatter in classrooms, and it's distracting, and sometimes they won't realise that they're doing it. Sometimes they do. The ones that do, they're the toxic ones. But it can be distracting, especially if, I don't know, you had a party at the weekend and you wanted to talk about it Monday. That's, you automatically, and it's a human response, you automatically want to talk about it the first chance you get. And if that's in the classroom, you're going to do it. So always put your studies first and what you want first. And yeah, it's going to get tough at times, but the overall outcome will make you feel better. I feel like I went off on more of a rant than a helpful tips. But yeah, they're my tips. Don't tell anyone what you're choosing, and do it and hand it in first. And don't listen to what anybody else is choosing. Choose what you want. And you'll become a happier person for it. So on that note, that's the end of this first one. And I'll see you all next week with more school tips. Bye.